Hey Texas voters, welcome back to part 6. Yes, we are about a third of the way through of the 17 state constitutional amendments that are up for vote this November. Before we start, I want to talk about some time sensitive stuff, and there is a little bit of urgency behind it because the deadline to register to vote is Monday, October 6th. So not this Monday, but the following one after that is the last day you can register to vote in the state of Texas. If you're not sure about the status of your voter registration, you can do a quick check at vote.org. If you need to update your voter registration, you can go to the website txapps.texas.gov, txapps.texas.gov. And to try to make it as easy as I can, I've added both of those links to the link tree in my bio. One more time, the deadline is Monday, October 6th to register to vote. Alright, if you've been around, you know how this goes. We read the proposition, we go through the overview, and then I try to provide you a little bit more information on the details of, some of the wordier stuff in this text. Before I start with this one, I just want to preface it by saying that this is another amendment that would not change how any system currently operates. This is another amendment that would restrict the state government's ability to write any laws in the future. So it wouldn't change anything, it would just say, you can't do anything about it in the future. All right, Texas Proposition 6 is an amendment that would prohibit taxes on certain securities transactions. A yes vote supports amending the state constitution to prohibit laws that impose an occupation tax on a registered securities market operator or a securities transaction tax. A no vote opposes amending the state constitution to prohibit laws that impose an occupation tax on a registered securities market operator or securities transaction tax. So a yes vote means that no future laws could be written about this period. A no vote changes nothing on this. And for a point of reference, there is not a single state that has this enacted in their tax law. There was for a time in our history between 1905 and 1981 when New York State did. However, after 1981, that hasn't been the case. Now, they did look into 2020 reimposing that at a state level, but they did not. What would this amendment prohibit? This amendment would prohibit the Texas state legislature from passing laws that impose an occupation tax on certain entities transacting securities or a tax on certain securities transactions. The amendment would define security as it is defined in federal law. Federal law defines security to include stocks, bonds, investment contracts, options, and shares in businesses or resources like gas or oil, as well as certificates of agreement that show you own part of an investment or have the right to buy or sell one. A registered securities market operator is defined in the amendment as one of the following entities registered and regulated by the United States Securities and Exchange Commission or the United States Commodity Futures Trading Commission. So, a self-regulatory organization, financial institution, broker, dealer, clearing agency, or transfer agent, a national securities exchange, an alternative trading system, board of trade, commodity pool operator, derivatives clearing organization, electronic trading facility, or organized exchange, or a trade reporting facility. Now, I know that was a lot of information at once, so to try to generalize it, it's essentially protecting big banks and financial institutions and brokers and everything like that from the stocks that they're trading from ever paying any taxes on earnings that they would make. But again, I want to remind you that this is just saying that legislator in the future couldn't even consider putting this in the tax code. Not that anyone is even considering doing this right now, because we're not. If this were to pass, those who would be getting a majority of the benefit from this would be the same group of people who hold the most wealth in this country, those who are the most active in the stock market, and very large financial institutions, including Bank of America, Vanguard. This would be protecting their money for the long haul. This is pretty much saying to anyone who's trying to correct the tax code in order to make it more fair, especially for the working class, you're not going to touch this, period. And listen, I own stocks. I have a few in ETFs, and I've dabbled here and there to try to learn more about how the market operates. But I can say that even if something like that were to be enacted, that would only ever affect me if I were to sell those stocks. And generally speaking, those in the lower tax brackets oftentimes hold on to those stocks a lot longer, because oftentimes we're looking at more at getting the quarterly dividends from those and letting those build up than trying to constantly sell them for a gain. But again, just to reiterate, if this amendment were to fail, that does not mean that taxes would then be enacted on these securities exchanges. It only means that things would stay as they were, and that a state legislature could possibly consider doing that in the future. So in a simple sentence, it would protect big money for God knows how long, in the meantime providing little to no gain for the average Texan. And this is the part of the video where I say if you have any questions or comments or want more details, leave it in the comments section and we can have a group discussion about it. P.S. Thank you so much for staying engaged and participating in the conversation. Not only are you taking time out of your day to learn more, but you're helping to hold me accountable and actually make sure that I finish a project that I started. So thank you.